Hello everyone, welcome to aitech1.com. My name is Sumit and today we are going to start a new video series for LWC components in Salesforce. So this is my first video in that category, and in today's video I'm going to demonstrate you I will be going to create LWC component using Visual Studio, and we'll see that how do we deploy that LWC component on a Salesforce environment, and we'll test it. So as all of you know about LWC, so let's have a look. How do we set up LWC components? What are the libraries we required to configure LWC component or to create LWC component in Visual Studio? So in order to work with LWC, there are a few things which you require. So the very first thing you require here is you need to have a Visual Studio set up with you, first of all. And for this, you can take help of this platform where we can download Visual Studio Code. So as you can see, I've already downloaded Visual Studio Code, and this is the uh, sample LWC component. I have created one LWC component. We'll be going to set it up once again, but I'm just going to demonstrate you that we got one HTML file where we'll be going to. This is our front end. Then this is the controller class for this, and we got a component.js.meta XML. So these are the three files we need to create in order to create one LWC component. So how are we going to start? So the very first thing we require here is one Visual Studio Code. As you can see, this is my Visual Studio Code. And from where you can download this Visual Studio Code, here is a Visual Studio Code from where you can download it. And I will share this link in the comment box in the description, so you can follow this link to download Visual Studio as per your operating system. So I'm using Windows operating system. My OS is Windows, so I have already downloaded and installed Visual Studio Code. Now, after this Visual Studio, one library which you required, that is called CLI, Salesforce CLI. So we need to download and install CLI. And CLI is basically, it's an additional library which is required for Lightning components or Lightning web components. And this CLI, this is a URL to download CLI, developer.salesforce.com/sfdx CLI. And I'll drop this link also in the description box so that you can download the CLI also. And I'm using Windows OS, so here is my Windows OS. I just use this option to download a CLI for me, download for Windows x64. And once you download this CLI, the next thing you have to do is you have to check whether the Salesforce CLI is installed in your system or not. And in order to do that, I'll just switch to command prompt. Okay, I'll just switch to command prompt and just check it out. So I'll just open CMD, and as you can see, we are on CMD. If you can see, that's my screen. Yeah. So I just opened my CMD, and in this CMD, I just check SFDX, and you can see the SFDX has been installed. I want to know about the version. So SFDX version, SFDX. So my SFDX version is the SFDX CLI, and my version is 16.15.1. So in this case, I have already installed CLI. And one more thing you can do, once you download CLI, you can just execute a command SFDX update. So what it will do, it will update your SFDX CLI, and if any updates will be required, so it will download those updates and configure those updates as it will configure the update, or it will install the updates in your system. So we are ready to move ahead now. And now what we need to do is we need to start Visual Studio Code. Now in Visual Studio Code, the next thing you have to do here is we need to install the extension. And in order for extensions, as you can see, here is an extension option. So I click on extensions, and the package we have to install here is Salesforce extension pack. We need to download and install Salesforce CLI integration. This package we need to install. Salesforce CLI integration. This is need to install, and we need to download and install Salesforce extension pack. And in this Salesforce extension pack, what exactly this is? This is the extension for developing on the Salesforce platform. And in this platform, we will be getting the supporting libraries for like Apex and Salesforce CLI integration, Aura components, Visual Force, Lightning Web components, and SOQL and SLDS validator. So basically, this package we have to install. It is very much required, this package. So I have already downloaded and installed this package. Now, how are we going to begin? So the very first thing we have to do is we have to start a new project. And in order to create a new project, either we can press control plus shift plus P, that's the shortcut, or we can use this manage. And here's an option called we can create a new project. So we have to create a new project, and for that we just press control plus shift plus P. When you press control plus shift plus P, we need to start a new project. So as you can see, in order to create a new project, I'm going to select SFDS project with benefits. And because we have installed the Salesforce CLI, you can see we are getting SFDX, authorize an org, and create project with benefits, authorize a dev hub, create a default, create Lightning Web component. And also we will be getting the deployment options also. Okay, we'll be getting other components which is relevant with SFDX. You can see, and here are the libraries. Here are the libraries. You can see we can create Apex class, we can create triggers, we can create Aura events. Okay, we can create Lightning Web component test, Visual Force page, Visual Force component. You can see. So SFDX is a complete package which is used to integrate your Visual Studio with Salesforce. So now it's time to create a new project. So I press Control plus Shift plus P and select Create Project with Manifest. Now, here what we have to do, simply select the standard project template, the default one, or we can go with the empty project template, but I'm going with the standard one because I want to use the, I want to install I want to install the you can say libraries, which is pre-installed. Click on standard project. Now here we have to specify a project name. So I just write here LWC test component. That's the project name, and you have to hit enter. So when I press enter, it will ask for the location. And in my case, in my G drive, I have already created a separate directory for LWC project. So I'm going to create a new project in the same library that is called LWC project. So when I click on create project, you can see it will create a new project for me. And the new project is created, name as LWC test component. And let me show you, this project is created in my G drive LWC projects. And you can see this is the LWC test component, which we created recently. And this contains few files, especially the SFDX project file is also there. That's a JSON file. Make sure that this file exists in your project. So let's get back. So that's the first step. Now, the next step is we need to connect to an org. We need to connect this to org and make sure in force.app main default, you have the LWC directory. If you don't have the LWC directory, we can right click and create a new folder name as LWC. But in my case, I have already got this LWC, so I don't have to create it again. It's already there. In this LWC, it contains two JSON files, JSON config.json and SLN-trick.json. So if I'll open this JSON config.json, you can see. So anyway, we are not going to touch that. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to connect this to Salesforce Org. And in order to do this, I click here, command palette, and I'm getting an option called authorize an org. So I click on authorize an org. And when you click on authorize an org, it will ask you for the project default. So I'm going with the project default, and it will be using the URL called login.salesforce.com. Click on this link. Do you want to provide any project alias? If not, simply hit enter. So what it will do, it will use a default alias as VS Code ORG. So I'm going with the default one and hit enter. When I hit enter, you can see it will redirect for authorizing an org, and it will open a browser for me. You can see now I have to provide the credentials to login. And now in my case, what I'm doing is I'm using a pack. Basically, I am connecting to this is my domain where I'm going to, this is my Salesforce environment where I'm going to connect. That's my Salesforce username. And I just provide credentials and yeah. And you can see I logged in successfully into my Salesforce org. And if you switch to Visual Studio, you can see here it's connected successfully. Have a look. If you do it, because I have already done this earlier, so that's why it didn't ask me for final confirm. It didn't ask me for confirmation, but it didn't ask me for verification actually. But in your case, when you do it very first time, it will ask you to verify that do you want to give permission to CLI, Salesforce CLI, to integrate with your Salesforce environment. External, okay, so external environment, like do you want to allow external environment to integrate with Salesforce? So you have to give permission over there. I have already given that permission. So that's why they didn't ask me. And I successfully logged in into my Salesforce environment. And at the same time, I can see you can see it's connected to the instance, and it is authorized to this with the organization ID and exited with 40. It means that the author of the authorization configured successfully. Now I need to create a new Lightning Web Component project. Okay, so now it's time to create a new Lightning LWC project. And how I'm going to create a Lightning Web Component project here. So in order to do this, I click here again. Basically, I can click on this force.app. Either we can right click and we can say, basically we can select this and press Ctrl+Shift+P and say create a Lightning Web Component, or else we can use this and we can say command palette, create a Lightning Web Component. It's one and the same thing. We can use any one of them. So I'm using create Lightning Web Component. What will be the desired name? So I'll just say hello world, or let's say test world component. That's the name of my component. Okay, so I'm going to create a component. That's the name of my component. Test world component. Okay, test one component, and I hit enter. And I would like to create this in the directory post app main default LWC. Yes, I want to register in this directory. I select this, and you can see it will create 3 files for us. And these 3 files, basically, these files are required to set up LWC component now. Now, the first file which you can see, that's the test component.html. This HTML file where we will be going to design our front end. So I just click on test component.html. That's the template. Now, one of the major difference between the Lightning Aura component and the Lightning Web component is in Lightning Aura component, we starts with Aura components, and here we starts with template. Now, within this template, I'm going to create a Lightning card. And for this, what we can do, there are those who are already familiar with Lightning Web component or Lightning components. They know that we used to have one Lightning input library. Okay, we'll be using Lightning input library, and from this Lightning input library, we can use Lightning Web components. See this Lightning Web component, and in this Lightning Web component, we used to have various other components. So I'm using a card. I'm using this card, and I just copy this card, and we'll customize it as per a requirement. But for our timing, I just copy paste, and I don't need required this, so I just get rid of this. Title is equal to hello world. I'm going to add an icon to this. So icon name is equal to custom custom 14. Now within this card, I just want to create let me create a division, and within this division, with the help of SLDS, class is equal to SLDS M around underscore medium. And now within this, I just create a paragraph. It's the P, and within this P, I just display hello. Now, in Aura components, we used to create attributes with the help of attribute tag. Here, we don't have to create any attribute tag, number one. And also, in order to refer the attributes, we always refer with B. But here, we can refer an attribute directly with the name. For example, I just create an attribute name as greeting. That's all. Okay, I just create an attribute. So this is the, so I'm not creating attribute actually. This is I'm using an attribute. We'll be going to declare this attribute in our client-side controller in this component.js file. And here I'm just going to create one input, lightning input. So I just scroll down here, lightning input. I'm going to get input from user. And I want a text file to get input from user. So I'm using lightning input. Copy this. And I'm going to paste it here. Lightning input type is equal to text label is equal to enter your name. And I'm going to map it with value is equal to greeting. We are mapping this, and on change event. On change event, I'm going to call one. On change event, I'm going to call one client-side controller function, and the function name is. Let's suppose my function here is change handler. So right now it is not created. We'll be going to create this. So this is my component.html. Now it's time to create the Testworldcomponent.js. So I click on Testworldcomponent.js, and here the very first thing I'm going to do is I just declare an attribute called greeting. Greeting, that's my attribute. And this same attribute we have used on HTML series. Greeting is equal to word, just a dummy value. And the event handler we created, the handler we created. So I just on change handler event. Now in this greeting, I'm just going to store. So I just write this dot greeting. We are going to pass a value to this. This dot greeting is equal to event dot target dot value. So that's all I'm going to create in this in this client side in Testworldcomponent.js. And what happened, as soon as we type a value into this input field, it will call this handler, change handler. This change handler will, whatever the value we type in, that value will assign to this greeting, and this greeting value will be displaying here. So it's working this manner. Now finally, where do we want to display the components? So we want to display the components we want to add a LWC component on a home page or in a record page or wherever we want. We have to specify the targets. So I just specify the targets and target lightning app page. I want to add it on a lightning app page, target lightning home page, target lightning record page. And one more thing we have to do, set this to false. Sorry, set this to true. True means this lightning web component will be exposed publicly. It would be available. It would be visible now. So we'll just save. We just save this. Now, once it is saved, now it's time to deploy this component back onto Salesforce. And how do we do that? We just right click on Force app, and here's an option called deploy source to org. So I click on deploy source to org, and what happened? This will deploy this application. See this. It says deploy source to org successfully ran, and you can see the deployment is done, and it successfully created the component on our Salesforce org. Let's go and check. So this is my Salesforce org, and in this Salesforce org, I want to see whether the component is deployed or not. And as if you remember, basically as you remember that we the component name is there, and we just selected there where do we want to display the component. We want to add, we can add a component on an app page, on a home page, or on a record page. So I want to add a component. Let's suppose I want to add a component here. So what I'm going to, okay, there are a few other components. I'm going to replace that, and instead of that, we'll be going to add our component. So I'll just edit this, and there is an existing component. So let me delete that first of all. Let me remove this component. And the component we created, what's the name of the component? The component name is test world component. You can see this test world component is added successfully. And I drag and drop this component here. Save this back, and let's test this component. And in order to test this component, right now it is word. If I just write Sumit, you can see. And if I just write my full name, so this is the easiest example. This is one of the basic example of a Lightning Web component, that how do we create a Lightning Web component using LWC, and how do we deploy the Lightning Web component on a Salesforce using Visual Studio. So that's all in this video. That's all in this video. I hope this video will help you to create a Lightning Web component. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel, or you can put your comment in comment box. If you require any training on Salesforce, if you require a customized training on Salesforce, you can reach out to us on support@aitech1.com or the numbers given on the screen. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye. See you soon again. Bye, guys.